Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. I see some people have already joined. Hi, John. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Tam. I see Lanita, Shayla. Um, who else do I see? Venkateshram. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And let me know that if you can hear me. So type 1 if you can see me, and 2 if you can hear me, and then 1 and 2 if you can hear me and see me before we get started. Okay. I don't see any 1s or 2s yet. So I want to make sure everybody can hear me and see me. Still waiting. Okay. Candace says 1. Okay. Angel says 1 and 2. Okay. Okay. Wendy says 1 and 2. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Hi, everybody. And now let me get my, I don't know what I just did, y'all, but I can't see the comments. I'm looking at my, hey, Oshika, Maria, Eugenia. Hey, everybody. And I see a couple people. Oshika, she joined Jumpstart, and so did Venkateshram. Who else do I see? Hi, everybody. And let me know where you are joining me from. And then also, please go ahead and start putting in your questions in the comments while I figure out what I just did. For those of you who don't know me and my technology skills, let's just say I could do better. And I don't know what I just did with the screen. So the comments are gone. What did I do? I don't want to leave. I don't know what I did. Okay. Now I can see the comments again. Okay, finally. Okay. So I don't see any questions yet. So go ahead and drop your questions in. I could see the chat again now. So go ahead and drop your questions in the comments. And as you guys already know, first come, first serve. So whoever, asks the questions first, I start there and then I go in the order received. So while you are putting in your questions, and what did I do? And thank you for bearing with me while I'm trying to figure, okay. Okay, now I can see everything very clearly. So like I said, drop your questions in the comments. And while we are getting started, I want to go ahead and, for those of you who don't know, I did launch a new coaching program called Jumpstart, CRA Career Jumpstart, which begins on July 1st. So enrollment is currently open, and enrollment will end on July 1st, pending that all the spots are not filled before then. So I only opened up 20 spots. We're already at 15, so I have 5 more. So for those of you who are interested, check out Jumpstart. I'll drop the link to the program in the comment section. And I see Tam asked a question. So drop in, everybody else, go ahead and drop in your other questions that you have in the comments. So as soon as I wrap this up, I'll jump into answering the questions. But I'll drop the link to Jumpstart in the comments so that you can go and check it out. And for those of you who don't know or who haven't heard about it yet, essentially it's a coaching program for aspiring CRAs. Primarily it focuses aspiring CRAs, but if you want to be a data entry coordinator, a regulatory specialist, study startup specialist, definitely anybody in the industry is welcome to join. It still works for you guys as well. And the program includes monthly coaching with me. So you'll get me as your coach. You also get access to a community platform so that everyone can, communicate, interact, and engage on a daily basis. And then I'll also be in there as well, answering questions outside of the coaching calls. And then you'll also get quarterly workshop trainings. One of them will be the interview clinic. So we'll not just do interview training, but we'll conduct some mock interviews, go through and assess the interviews, so you can have real-time feedback. You'll have examples of good interview versus bad interview. And then you'll also be able to do some practice yourself. So that's just an example of one of the trainings, the quarterly trainings that will be included. And then you'll also get access to the online curriculum, the Jumpstart online curriculum. And you'll get access to that for a full year. The coaching is 6 months. And we also will have lots of guest speakers, and some of the topics include CRA foundations, clinical research foundations, personal branding, confidence marketing. So there's lots of different things included in the program, and some other surprises as well. So I'll drop the link to Jumpstart in the comments. And then for any of you who are interested in joining, but you just have a few questions, feel free to DM me, or you can ask your questions here now. But if you don't feel comfortable, you can certainly DM me and I will address your questions there. So let's see. I see a question from Win too. From YouTube, it looks like. Okay, so let's start with, and please keep your questions coming. I don't see that many. And I do have a call after this. So if we don't get that many questions today, then we can end shortly. So if you do have a question, please don't try to wait until, usually these go an hour, but don't try to wait. So what do I need to get my first CRA job in the US? So Tam, I'm assuming that you specifically added the US because you are in another country. Definitely share with us what country you're coming from, if that's the case. If not, please clarify. But what do you need to get your first job in the US? So I'm not sure if this is your first time joining me, or if you've seen some other lives or some other content. But as you know, if you've been watching, I do a lot of conversations, talks, content around personal branding and self-marketing. And that goes across the board. So whether you're trying to land your first job and you're already in the US, or whether you're coming from another country, or whether you're in another country, let's say you're in Canada or the UK, and you want to land a CRA job or clinical research job in the country that you're in. It doesn't matter, y'all, what the situation is, the example is, the same still applies. You still have to take control of your brand, and then you still have to know how to market your brand so that you can ultimately sell the skills and assets and the value that you bring to companies. So that's going to apply to you as well, Tam, when it comes to you getting your first job in the US. When I look at your LinkedIn profile, for example, because this is a goal of yours, I should be able to look at your profile and immediately say, okay, this girl wants to be a CRA and she is trying to transition from the UK to the US. Your profile should clearly state that, whether it's in your banner, whether it's in your headline, whether it's in your about section, whether it's all of the above. That's just to give you an example of what I mean when I say brand. So don't think about, oh, it's just a bunch of colors and logo. No, that's not what it is. It's your brand. Long story short, if we can sum it up in like 1 or 2 seconds, your brand is essentially who you want to be known for, what you want people to know you for. That's basically what it is. Long story short. So just off of you telling me that little bit of information, Tam, when I see your resume, your cover letter, not just your LinkedIn profile, but everything about you should be representative of what you just told me. Now, of course, there's more to you than that. So I'm not saying that's the only thing, but that's just to give you an example. Okay. And I see, oh no, Tam says okay. Tam says that she is in Boston. So she's in the US and this is her first time alive. Okay. So it sounds like you are not trying to change countries. You just wanted to clarify the country you're in. So thank you for that. But for those of you who are trying to transition countries, the same would apply. Then of course there's some additional citizenship things that you would have to navigate, which I'm not familiar with all, that process. Since I am a US citizen, I'm not familiar with the process for transition over to the US. But I would start there with the marketing and the branding. That will help you connect with people who would be able to help you if you are trying to relocate. Someone says I'm Georgia and willing to relocate. Okay. So Wynn asks, hi Jasmine, would the jumpstart work for someone like me who's a pharmacy tech working at a site? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is another perfect example of someone that jumpstart would be perfect for. So the ultimate goal, most people's goal, and I would say ultimate because most people when they come to me, they're like, I want to be a CRA, and they might have other goes past the CRA in mind eventually, like maybe they want to become a CTM, for example, right? But primarily Jumpstart, the focus is, like I said, the CRAs, but it will absolutely work for anybody in the industry. So I do have one-on-one private clients who I've had a pharmacy tech client, for example. I've had people in completely other different industries, like the financial industry, the mortgage industry, um who else, assisted living industry, teachers. So it definitely will work for you as well, Win. So the next question is Saeed. I have 12 years of experience in drug safety. Are there any chance for me getting in a CRA? Absolutely, absolutely. Drug safety, so pharmacovigilance, Saeed, just so you know, is another one of those areas or roles that is I call gateway roles. It's another one of those really great roles that will lead to the CRA path, because inside of that role, you get so many skills. Like, for example, all of your drug safety experience, you will definitely know how to review, assess AEs, SAEs, which safety is one of the two main components of the monitoring responsibility: safety and quality, data safety, patient safety, data integrity. Those are the two main responsibilities of the CRA. So Saeed, you're definitely a great candidate. Next question, Candace. How can I market myself better to get interviews for a CRA position? I'm in Georgia, willing to relocate. Okay, perfect. So, Candace, first of all, the fact that you are willing to relocate is a plus, because a lot of times the thing that is the determining factor is ultimately the location. So a company might be hiring, let's say, in the Southeast region for CRAs today, but they're not hiring on the West Coast today. But then next month, it's the reverse. They're hiring on the West Coast and not necessarily the Southeast, right? So if you're willing to relocate, then you're allowing yourself to expand your reach and cast a broader net, which is perfect. So I always recommend that in cases where you can, right? Everybody's personal life and personal situation is different. But if you can relocate, that will definitely up your chances. So Candace, that's already a good thing. And then how can you market yourself better to get interviews? So first, I would say, take a look at the job description. So the job description is your cheat code. It's your cheat sheet for everything. You just have to know how to take it and properly assess it and use it to your advantage. So there will, for example, be lots of keywords within that job description that you can, and I think that's a great question. Tomorrow or one of these days, I'll come back on live. Let me leave myself a note. I'll come back on live, and then I'll go through a job description so that you guys can have an example of how to properly assess a JD and then leverage it and use it as your actual cheat sheet. Because I know sometimes I say that and people are like, okay, well, how do you do that, Jasmine? But basically, you can go through and find keywords, for example, and it doesn't have to be industry specific keywords either. So for what example can I give? Writing reports. Let's just say writing reports. So if you're in a role and let's say you're a nurse or you're a teacher, or you're in some industry where you have to write reports. Well, as a CRA, you have to write reports. You conduct a visit and you assess, you review, you verify data, and then you write you write a report on what the assessment was. Essentially, long story short, I'm very making it very simple for example purposes. But let's just say that's an example. So if you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, you have to review, assess some type of situation, and then write a report on that, right? Whether it be, I don't know how the teacher industry works exactly, but I'm pretty sure that at some point they're writing reports. Nurses, I know that they're making the nurses' notes and filing them in the patient medical records. All of that is similar to, of course, it's different, right? Let's throw that out there. It is different, but in terms of the skill set that's required to complete that specific task, it's the same skill set. So that's what I mean when I say marketing yourself. So if you are that nurse and you do have that skill set, then that's something that you want to really be bringing up in conversations. You want to have it blasted on your LinkedIn profile. You want to make it a huge center, or if not the center, a huge part of your resume, for example. So that's just one example among, and not to say you only want to have that one example. You want to have several. If you only have one, hey, milk that one, because you can really take that one opportunity or that one experience and leverage it and still market yourself and sell yourself to get the job. But if you have more, definitely give more examples as well. I hope that answers your question, Candace, of as an example of how to market yourself. But I will do the JD live. Okay. And Win says perfect. Okay. And then Tam, so another question. I worked as a CRA in Nigeria for 4 years before moving to the US in 2011. I'm a recent PharmD graduate. Thank you for your answer. Oh, Tam. So then if you already have CRA experience in another country, then absolutely. It's I find that, well, I guess it's the same for everybody. But if you already have the CRA experience, it is absolutely the way that you are marketing yourself. So Tam, definitely you having that CRA experience, and then on top of that, you having the PharmD degree. So you already have lots of good experience. You already have the degree. You can, and let me see, I can't remember what your first question was. What was it? Oh, what do I need to get my first job? All straight personal brand and self-marketing. That's all you need, literally. All you need. You shouldn't even be having to apply for jobs. And I say that not just to Tam because of her experience or her background, but when you set up your system, your job attraction system, the correct way, and you really are leveraging personal branding and self-marketing, none of us should be applying for jobs, really. We can all throw out the old way, and you will start attracting jobs, meaning CRA recruiters, hiring managers, they will literally contact you via your LinkedIn platform, if you're on other job search platforms like Indeed, if you've put your email address, your phone number out there somewhere, they'll DM you or they'll email you directly or they'll call you directly. How do I know? Because it has happened to me. It continues to happen to me. It has happened to my clients. It continues to happen to my clients. So that's how I know. You really, when I say, and if you missed last week on Wednesday when Angela was on, the CRA recruiting expert, Angela, she talks about the same thing. We're going to be on the next 4 weeks every Wednesday at 7. So you can join us this week too. But it's the same reoccurring theme, no matter who I talk to, even podcast guests, the same reoccurring themes come up. It's all about how you're positioning yourself and showcasing your skills set, the assets that you bring to the table, and showing how they can then become utilized by the company to their benefit. That's what it's all about. Let's see. Candace says, I've been a CRIC for approximately 7 years. Oh, Candace, yes, you are another person. If you've been a study coordinator for 7 years, you are more than ready, more than qualified, more than prepared to be successful in the CRA role. So you definitely make a great CRA candidate. Jeffrey says, hi, everyone. Hi, Jeffrey. And then this one says, it says LinkedIn pro user, but I'm looking at I think it's Venkateshwaram's question. So rather than starting off as a CRC, is it possible to start off as a CRA? Yes, it absolutely is. And then Venkateshram also says he has an MD already. Yes. So great question. So it's not an absolute requirement to take what I call the gateway roles, to take that path into the CRA space. So do you absolutely have to be a CTA or a study coordinator or an in-house CRA or drug safety specialist or study startup specialist or regulatory coordinator or any of those things? No, you don't. You don't, Venkateshram, you absolutely do not. I always say, but you want to ask your question, do I want to skip those steps? First of all, do I want to? Do I need to? And then am I prepared to? If you can say yes to all those things, then that's when I can say, okay, that I feel like, okay, you make a great candidate to go directly into the CRA role. And I see that you have an MD, Venkateshram, so you would fall under that category of someone that can, jump over. And I've had, when I back when I did my CRA program, my entry level training position, um I'm trying to remember. I remember one person distinctly. I can't think of his name right now, but he had an MD, and he also was in this same situation that Venkateshram is bringing up, that he did not, have a study coordinator role, CTA role, anything like that before becoming a CRA. And then there's one other lady I remember. I can't think of her name either, but it was a situation like that too. So yes, to answer your question, long story short, yes, you can start off as a CRA, go straight into the CRA role. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. Let's see. So let me see. Wow, and please put some more questions. You're welcome. Please put your additional questions that you might have in the comments. But wow, let me see if while we're I'm getting more questions. I'm going to see if I can find an entry-level job description now and pull it up. So then we can take a quick look at it and then pull out some of the keywords that I was telling you about. And I see your question, Tam. Let me table this for a minute and answer your question. So Tam says, how can you help? I also have a CRA certificate from CCRPS. Certificate was obtained in January. I'm not sure what CCRPS is. Tam, let us know what that is. CCRPS. And how can I help? So I can help in two ways, one of two ways, with one-on-one coaching. So I offer one-on-one coaching, private coaching. And then now Jumpstart, which I mentioned earlier, will start on July 1st. And essentially, both in the group coaching setting and then in the one-on-one private coach setting, I walk you through, and I see your question too, Wendy. I'll get to that. I walk you through essentially everything that you'll need to land your first CRA job. So I don't just help you land the job and then send you off on your way. My process is to give you the tools to not only land the job without applying, but to be able to continue and repeat that same process so that you can get more jobs and you can get promotions and you can truly, have a repeatable plan, a repeatable platform that will allow you to then, when it sounds like some people, when they come to me, they're like, it just seems like it's so much involved on the front end. And no, it's not, guys. It might sound like that, but it really can be a fun, simple, easy process. It really can. And on the back end, like once you have your job attraction system set up on the back end, it's like at that point, you don't have to, you're really, I hate to put it this way, but at that point, you're just sitting back waiting on people to reach out to you and contact you and offer you opportunities. So that's how I help you, Tam. I help you set up that entire system for yourself. What does the CRA job attraction system look like? What does it entail? I help you, we create career plans, CRA career plans, belief plans. You'll also get a completely revamped LinkedIn profile. You'll get a revamped resume and cover letter. I already talked about the interview clinic and all the interview prep that you get. Things look a little bit different depending on if you choose one-on-one versus group. But you still get big picture, you still get the same end result. Put it that way. All the tools that you need to land your first CRA job and the support that you need while you're in the job search process of landing your CRA job. I hope that answers your question, Tam. If not, and you have more questions, let me know. So Wendy says, what is the best way to talk salary? So Wendy, that's actually, I can't remember when, not this week, maybe next week, but that's actually one of the topics that I'm going to be covering with Angela on one of the summer series, the Wednesday summer series. So check that out because we're going to go in depth about negotiating, how to negotiate, the best way to negotiate, how to negotiate, when you shouldn't be negotiating at all and you should just be declining and running. So we cover all of that, Wendy, in one of the summer series recruiter series. I can't remember which ones, but it's on my profile if you look in the event section. But to answer your question, so what's the best way to talk salary? Well, first of all, as an entry level candidate, I always say you want to leave salary for last. So you don't want to be that difficult candidate. And I'm strictly speaking to entry level, y'all. So the advice for someone that's more senior would be completely different. So if you're listening, you're senior, this is not for you. But you don't want to be talking about salary negotiating until after you've gotten the offer. Now, sometimes on the front end, they'll push you to say, okay, what is the salary expectations, right? And you never want to give just one number. So if your salary expectations is 90K, don't say 90K. I would say, and I always like to get in the 10 to 15K range. So I would say like 90 to 110. Or if you want to be on the safe side and make sure that you don't get, overlooked simply because your range was too high, then I would start a little bit lower and say 85 to 95 or 85 to 100, if that makes sense. So the 10 to 15K range, and then you want to cover whatever your ideal number is. You want to cover that number, preferably top to bottom. So I don't say start at the number that you're seeking. I always say go a little bit under. But then once you get past that initial conversation, you've interviewed, they've offered you the job, that's when you negotiate. That's when you want to say, okay, hear what they bring to you first. And even if it is like everything you dreamed of, they've hit the base, they've hit some bonuses, they've hit some side, they've hit every perk you can think of, right? Even if that's the case, you always want to negotiate. You always want to negotiate because at least I've never heard of a case where a company brought a candidate a offer that was the max of what they were willing to go. They never really do that. At least I haven't seen it so far, or I haven't heard of it being done so far. So with that being said, and with that being taken into consideration, you already know that there's a little bit room to go, right? So you always want to try to figure out what that max number is. That's really the goal as a candidate, is to try to get as much as you possibly can out of that particular offer. And then on the flip side, on the company side, of course, when we're offering people services, we want to get the best price we can as well, right? So they want to get the best price that they can for your services. So keep that in mind too. But I feel like I done got off on a tangent here, Wendy. But the best way is to wait until and again, this is for entry level candidates. The best way is to wait until we get to the offer side of things, so and then you can start negotiating. And then always have key points that represent the value that you bring, achievements, accomplishments that represent the assets, the values that you bring to the table, to represent why you're pushing back and negotiating for more. If that makes sense. It's not just because you're a nice person and we like you and you're great and you got 3 degrees. Like, no, that's not going to help the company or benefit the company's bottom line. They need to know what you bring to the company and how you specifically are going to impact their company in a way that ultimately helps their bottom line, which for profit companies is money, right? Revenue. Um, I hate to put it that way and be blunt sometimes, but that's what it all boils down to. And I think that because so many people aren't aware of that in the job search process and being an employee in general, it really does negatively impact their career, because they're looking at it from a and taking things from a personal perspective versus this is business at the end of the day. Yes, we can all work together, and we can even create these families and these communities and all the things, right? We can have these wonderful experiences in the best companies and the best bosses and the best managers, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and businesses have bottom lines. And that's okay, because when you brand and market yourself in the right way, then you don't have to ever worry about the bottom line negatively impacting your career. If you get laid off, guess what? It doesn't matter, because you have a network full of people and you'll get a job the next day. How do I know? I'm an example. I have clients that are examples. So I hope that answers your question, Wendy. If not, drop another question. Um, Tam says that CCRPS is Certified Clinical Research Professional Society. Okay. I've actually never heard of that. Um, I've heard of the CCRP, which SOCRA offers. That's a Certified Clinical Research Professional, but I haven't heard of that one. So you learned something new. I'll check it out, Tam. Um, and then, and one thing that I will add is that I'm not sure what this CCRP is supposed to be for, but for those that are saying, okay, well, I want to be a certified CRA, the only certified CRA that is currently being offered right now is through ACRP. The only one that is truly industry recognized, I would say, is through ACRP. So any certifications that allows you to put the initials behind your name that is industry recognized, that would be offered through ACRP or SOCR. So next question. I can't tell. I think this is Bianca. So do you help with transitioning to your next role? I have 1 year of CRA now and I want higher salary or different role. Absolutely. I have clients that are already CRAs, Bianca. So absolutely, I would love to help you. And either inside Jumpstart, so the group coaching program, or one-on-one, either one would be a good fit for you. So you can DM me if you have any questions that you don't want to ask here, but absolutely, Bianca. And then so the next question is from Glafira. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If not, let me know, but I think it's Glafira. Um, so I'm a foreign medical graduate. I've been working as a CRC for 18 months. Should I become a CCRP first before having a chance to become a CRA? How to find CRA level 1 position? So great question, Glafira. And the first part of your question, do I need to become CCRP first? No. So the CCRP and the CCRA, I didn't get those until after I became a CRA. So I think about towards the end of my first year, or going around that 12-month mark, I got the CCRP. And then on that second year, I got my CCRA. And that was also because you have to have quite a number of monitoring hours and some other requirements as well before ACRP will even let you sit for the CRA exam. So that was part of the reason. But no, Glafira, you definitely do not need to get the CCRP before you become a CRA in any way, shape, or form. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to think of all the CRAs that I've encountered. Even my CRA friends, it's not that many that actually have the CCRP, or they definitely, I haven't met, I'm trying to think, I don't know if I even know one that got it before they became a CRA. So you're perfectly fine, Glafira. You've been in the coordinator role for 18 months. You are more than ready. Plus, you are a foreign medical graduate. You are more than ready to land a CRA role. So I hope that helps. Let me know, Glafira, if you have any other questions. I talk so fast. I get tongue tied. Okay. So Wendy, Wendy's question. Thanks. I'm looking for entry level CRA with a focus in oncology. Been a CRC for 11 plus years. Oh yes, Wendy. You have definitely I see a lot of y'all are coming in with a lot of years of experience or well over 12 months. So all of you all are more than ready to step into your CRA role. Wendy, for you specifically with the oncology focus, when you specialize in like in a particular area, that also helps you stand out, going back to branding, because you can brand yourself as the oncology study coordinator that now wants to transition into the oncology CRA role, for example. But that's one way to stand out. And then oncology specifically is a high demand TA therapeutic area that companies are always looking for, because a lot of CRAs don't want to do oncology just because it can be a challenging therapeutic area and it comes with a lot of other responsibilities. Let's use that word. um, but yeah, so Wendy, you're definitely in the great spot to land a entry level CRA role. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't answer the other part of Glafira's question where she said, how can you find CRA level 1 positions? So and another thing that I want to point out, I want to make this clear also, you guys, going back to the job attraction system that I spoke of earlier. So when you think about, okay, well, I'm trying to find CRA one positions, how do I find them? When you have your system set up and properly set up, and you are truly leveraging the power of personal branding and self-marketing, you don't have to ever ask that question again, because you're not going to be looking for entry-level CRA jobs, because the recruiters, the hiring managers, they're going to be looking for you. They're going to come to you. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges that the job search market in general, candidates, job seekers in general face, is that nowadays the market is completely different. Applying is the old slow way, and you really have to leverage the power of branding and marketing, because oftentimes recruiters nowadays, they aren't, yes, they will take a look at applications that are being submitted. That is still an option. But a lot of times their first go-to is to come on LinkedIn and to search for candidates, search using keywords um that, if they're oncology, for example, maybe they're looking for an oncology study coordinator. Let's just use that as an example. They'll go on, they'll search oncology SCs, and then they'll see what pops up. And then they'll search maybe some that also maybe have aspiring CRA listed as well, because they want to find an oncology coordinator that is ready to transition, right? So a lot of times they're looking and trying to find you, but because we aren't used to this new way of being a job seeker, we aren't readily accessible, and we don't have the online visibility that we need to have in order to be seen. I find that to be the biggest problem that most of us are facing in this new job seeker realm. So going back to the question of, okay, well, how do I find CRA, entry level CRA jobs? That's one question to answer, but an even better question is how do I stop searching and become found? That's the easy, most efficient way. And that goes back to branding and marketing yourself. Now, are there entry level positions being posted? Absolutely. Where would I recommend that you start? The top CROs are the best place, because they have the most space and they have the capacity to take on large groups of entry level CRAs at one time. Then I would switch to the mid-sized CROs. And then that's when I would branch out and seek out the smaller CROs. Now, on the pharma side, you can find pharma companies, Merck, AbbVie, Pfizer, especially the larger ones, they do have entry level CRA roles. Now, they might not have the larger programs where they're bringing in 10, 15, 20, 30 people at a time, but they still have opportunities there as well. So that would be my recommendation in order to find the roles. Let's see. Next question. Glafira says, thank you so much, Jasmyn. I appreciate your answer. Of course, my pleasure. So this question comes from, I think it's Bianca again. So can you explain the difference in role CTM versus PM? So generally speaking, CTM is handling more so the clinical CRA site management side of the study, aspects of the study, and project management is dealing with everything else. But caveat, that depends on the company. So some companies um have it where the CTM PM role is kind of combined. So you're kind of doing both roles, taking on both responsibilities. And then I see Wendy said, okay, thanks. And then in other companies, the CTMs might strictly only what just happened? What just happened? I hope I'm still on live. I think I am. I think I should still be showing up. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. The screen just went black. But in other companies, the CTMs might only be strictly like managing the CRAs and managing the monitoring piece, right? So handling the monitoring visits, all things monitoring. So maybe you're reviewing trip reports, maybe you're creating the monitoring plans and you're doing all the report annotations and you're like strictly handling monitoring. But then there's other companies where you'll be handling the monitoring piece, but then you also may be responsible for vendor management as well. And also system access that goes along with the vendor management, the trainings, and even ongoing study maintenance throughout. You might be responsible for all that too. Some companies very rarely, but you might also the smaller and this is where the size of the company comes into play. The smaller companies, you might also be pitching in on some study startup responsibilities as well. And what else would I say? Some other companies they have CTMs also chipping in other areas as well. Whereas with the on the project management side, if it is a project management role, typically you're not really dealing with any of the clinical components. So any of the protocol related items, any of the protocol related training, any of the monitoring related trainings, you're typically not involved in that. Now, if the title does say clinical project manager, then most of the times I see that those are the types of roles that are combined. So you have the clinical, the CTM component, and then the PM component. But typically speaking, PMs aren't dealing with all of the clinical, medical, protocol specific related things, and they're not managing the day to day for CRAs. I hope that answers your question. And let's see. And so next question is Candace, and I'll let this be our last question for the day. So which is better to work for as a CRA, sponsor or CRO? So, and this question, wait, no, this is not Candace's question. This is someone else's. Um, okay, so let me answer this one first. So I wouldn't say one is better or one is better than the other. It really just depends on you and um what you seek in a company, which is why I always start every time I start with anybody, we start with goals. Because if you don't know where you're going, how are you supposed to create a plan to get there? And so it's going to boil down to like what type of employer, what type of environment, what type of career, what type of opportunities, what you delineate and identify and pull out and tease out all of those things, then that will ultimately tell you, okay, I think I should choose the sponsor versus the CRO. Sponsors are more laid back. The workload is not going to be as intense. So oftentimes you might wear multiple hats, unless it's like a smaller CRO. The bigger CROs, you're gonna whatever hat you're wearing, that's the only hat you're probably pretty much gonna wear. What else on the sponsor side? Typically, they might include like stocks and additional perks and things in your package and your offer that may not necessarily be included on the CRO side. What else? Those are like the main differences. The sponsor is usually like more um of the tight knit type of culture or vibe. Put it this way, during meetings, sponsors like to turn on their cameras. During meetings, CROs people, we don't. If that helps give you like a big picture analogy of the different vibes and the different cultures between the two. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know who asked it. They're not, your name isn't showing. So I hope that answers your question. If not, drop another one. And then Candace, last question that we're going to answer for the night. So would it be possible to come in as a CRA II with previous CRC experience? Great question, Candace. You're asking great questions. Yes, Candace. And how do I know? I did it. And I have a whole other class of people with me when I landed my first CRA job that did it. We all came in as CRA IIs. It was an accelerated entry-level CRA program. And so we all came in as CRA IIs based upon the previous experience that we had coming into the role. So yes, it absolutely, Candace, 100% is possible. It's happened to me. I know a whole other group of people that it's happened to, and it continues to happen. Okay, and I see the LinkedIn user says my name is Quadri. Perfect. So perfect. Now we are at we're 15 minutes till 8, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today. But you guys, for those of you who had questions about working with me, you can always visit aspiringcra.com to learn more about one-on-one private coaching and work with me in private coaching. And then and as far as CRA Career Jumpstart goes, like I said, I'll drop the link in the comments when I get off, and you can DM me with any questions that you may have. But the program starts July 1st. Enrollment ends on July 1st. I'm only taking 20 people. We have 15 jump starters so far, and I'm so excited for each and every one of you that have already signed up. I can't wait to help you transform. And for those of you who felt like you got a lot of information out of today's session, live Q&A, join me on Wednesday. I will be live again with Angela, CRA recruiter expert and specialist, and we are going to be talking about blockers. Not only the blockers that we as candidates have, but blockers that are on the other end that we don't think about, that employers have. So recruiters, hiring managers, even your boss, your manager. We're going to talk about blockers and how they are impacting our careers. And in addition to that, we're going to take it one step further and talk about some of the things that you can do to overcome these blockers and turn them into tools that you can leverage to boost your career rather than, things that are blocking you and holding you back. So definitely, guys. And John, I see you said, what's your direct contact? I'll drop that. You're on LinkedIn, so you can contact me via LinkedIn, John. But yeah, so definitely check that out on Wednesdays. And I will be back on next Monday again, guys, live doing another Aspiring CRA Q&A. So definitely join me next week. I'd love to have you guys again. I love doing these. I love answering your questions. And for those of you in between now and next Monday, if you have any questions, they come up, DM me on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, get over to LinkedIn. But other than that, thank you guys so much as always for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.